Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. We begin in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, and we send peace and blessings upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we send peace and blessings upon his family and his companions and anyone and everyone else who follows in his footsteps. And like I just a couple weeks ago, I've given a talk based on actually starting on recognizing that we were on the 11th day of Ramadan. And now, actually, obviously, now that this is not the case anymore, where we only have really 5 nights left of Ramadan. We're basically in the middle of the last 10 nights. And honestly, I really wanted to start off by recognizing that we have those 5 nights left. That this is something that this is real, and subhanallah, it also feels like it just went away just like that. Now we started off this Ramadan really motivated, and as we kept going through and through, we may have been motivated. Maybe some of us have been sticking through. Some of us maybe have been falling off and then catching up back again and then falling off again. And we are recognizing these last nights, and it's been really recommended upon us that we really strive now. We really strive for not only that perfection, that greatness, but uh, to be able to be the best versions of ourselves. And after recognizing that, and maybe the questions that have been going through our minds now are, what do we do now with 5 nights left? Really, not much time is left to really do a lot of good, in a sense that there's not enough to maybe build a good habit. That usually when we think about the change that we want within ourselves, and the change that we want to be, we want to be as we leave this Ramadan as a better version of ourselves, we really think about, oh, we should build a good habit. We should make sure that we have a bunch of these good habits, and that when we leave this Ramadan, we're technically a better version of ourselves. And that is true. That building all these good habits is necessarily, it will make us a better version of ourselves in a way. But with 5 nights left, and you're thinking, oh, I have to build this good habit, I have to make sure I'm doing this on time, or I have to make sure that I'm doing this to the best of my ability. And we keep asking ourselves that there's really not much time left. And we keep stressing ourselves that, what are we going to do now? Obviously, it's great that we build these good habits and we make sure to build upon these habits, but with this much time left, I feel like the focus now should be really getting rid of those bad habits that we may have. Having all these good habits are great. Maybe if we are able to build up these good habits, but if we leave this Ramadan having 1,000 good habits, but still having that one sin that we're struggling with, is that's really we're not really making that change within ourselves that we really want. Really, that one sin that we're able to really put aside, instead of the 1,000 good habits that you may have been able to build up. That's really more beautiful in the eyes of Allah, when you're able to get rid of that one bad habit. So we recognize that, okay, with these 5 nights left, that let's make sure that if we're struggling with a sin, maybe if it's something like backbiting, or maybe talking back to our parents or relatives or family members, or if we're not able to do our 5 daily salawats on time, all these different bad habits that we may have, let's make sure to put those away instead. The good habits, don't let the good habits be the ones making you really stressing you out. Let's make sure to really put those bad habits aside, because obviously that this is something that is really beautiful in the eyes of Allah. And I really wanted to push forward. I really wanted to add upon that when we put away these bad habits, especially in the last 5 nights, what else can we do now? There's actually a hadith narrated by Aisha radiallahu anha, where she asked the Prophet ﷺ that, if I were if one of the last 10 nights were Laylatul Qadr, what should I be asking Allah? What should I ask from Him? the Prophet ﷺ, he gave him really simple reply that, and this supplication, this dua that he recommended Aisha radiallahu an, and really this supplication is focused on he replied to Aisha radiallahu an that ask Allah that Ya Allah, you are the most pardoning, and you're the one who loves to pardon, so pardon me. In Arabic, we may be more familiar in the more Arabic version or sense that Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. That Allahumma innaka afuun, that Ya Allah, you're the most pardoning. Uh, afuun tuhibbul afwa, tuhibbul afwa, that you love to pardon. Afwa fa'fu anni, and so pardon me. So this is another thing that this is actually another dua, supplication, that this is something that is recommended by the Prophet ﷺ, that he recommended Aisha radiallahu anh uh, that make sure to recite this on Laylatul Qadr. And obviously, with us not being sure of when Laylatul Qadr is, that could be on any of these nights, any of the last 10 nights. It's really telling us that this is a dua that should really be focused upon, that we has to be on the back of our tongues every single time. Whenever we have a chance, that we ask Allah to pardon us, that we ask Allah to that He's the most pardoning, and He loves to pardon, so pardon us. And I'll continue on inshallah with following after the MCMC ad.
Sheikh Abdul Hakim, a frequent speaker at MCMC, said something very profound. He said, I've been to hundreds of masajid all over the country, and whenever I've seen people raise their hands in response to an appeal, there's always this big smile on their face. Subhanallah, just let that sink in. It's like, imagine if someone jumps in a swimming pool, it is 100% guaranteed that this person will get wet. Similarly, once we donate for the sake of Allah, it's like jumping in a pool filled with happiness. You are guaranteed to be drenched in happiness. Brothers and sisters, we are reaching out to you with an urgent appeal regarding MCMC operations. There has been no Jummah collection for almost 2 months now, and now with the masjid closed during Ramadan, it is indeed a huge financial burden. Ramadan is the time we collect funds that enable us to do hundreds of programs throughout the year. We collect funds to improve our security, to improve the overall facility, and to do outreach work throughout the year. Times are tough, and no doubt there are hundreds of good causes to donate, but upkeeping your home has to be the number one priority. If MCMC is where you pray your daily prayers, if this is the place where you pray Jummah, Taraweeh, Eid, if this is the place where your kids learn about Allah and His Messenger, then this is your home. This is your primary responsibility to maintain your home. Please visit mcmcnj.org/themasjid and support and upkeep your home. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your family and fill your heart with happiness.
So after the brief break, we left off with the dua Allahumma innaka afuwun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. And I really wanted to, before I wrap up with the few minutes I have left, I wanted to focus on the essence of this dua and why it's so important. I mentioned the translation that Ya Allah, you're the one who pardons the most and loves to pardon, so pardon me. And there's actually a distinct difference, and we need to recognize that there's a distinct difference between forgiving and pardoning. And forgiving, we obviously understand that forgiving, that this is something that you may have done, but you are forgiven. But pardoning is, this is actually the most beautiful part. The distinct part about this is that when you pardon something, it's as if that has never happened before, or you're not even going to be accountable for it at all. So when you say this dua, Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni, let's make sure that this is on our tongues constantly. And when we recite this dua, this is we are not only asking Allah to forgive us, but also to make sure that those sins that we're not even accountable for, that they have never even reached the book of deeds, that we will be tested and shown on the day of judgment. So that's another thing that I really wanted to really hit upon and emphasize, this really remarkable and beautiful dua that we're really encouraged to recite during the last 10 nights. And before I wrap up, I want to end with this last point and recognize the hadith that I mentioned, that when Aisha radiallahu anhu was asking Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, the Prophet ﷺ, he could have asked Aisha radiallahu an, he could have told Aisha radiallahu an to do these different things, that, oh, ask Allah for mercy, or ask Allah for all these different aspects in Islam that you could obviously ask for. But he simply told Aisha radiallahu an something really simple. It's something really so simple but remarkable, that ask Allah for forgiveness, basically. Not obviously, don't make this the only thing you ask Allah. Obviously, we want to ask Allah in these last nights a lot more than that. But this really shows that if he's telling Aisha radiallahu an to uh if he sallallahu alaihi wasallam was telling Aisha radiallahu an to ask Allah for to pardon and forgive your sins, what does that tell us for our last 10 nights? That we need to ask Allah to constantly for his forgiveness and his mercy. That this is really the theme of that this is actually one of the main themes of the last 10 nights that we've been looking for, constantly been asking ourselves. We started this discussion in the beginning, where we're asking ourselves, what can we do in the last 5 nights that we have that are remaining? And this is really one of the keys, is that asking Allah for his forgiveness and mercy, basically. Asking Allah to really pardon your sins. And this is something that should be really constant, especially when we just came back from our previous tahajjud, or when we're gonna do our other tahajjud later on in these coming nights. So inshallah, I wanted to do a really brief recap, that in these next 5 nights, let's not try to stress ourselves or burden ourselves with the good habits that we could potentially make. Let's try to work on the bad habits that are really relevant in our lives, and to make a more change within ourselves as we leave this Ramadan. Another thing that I wanted to focus on, the another thing, just to really recap, is the dua. Make sure that you have this dua constantly on your tongue. Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. And recognizing that these are the last 5 nights where we need to not only push ourselves, but ask Allah for the forgiveness and his mercy, and to really pardon those sins. That theme that we've been trying to look for this entire Ramadan. So inshallah, I ask Allah to to ask Allah to really accept our coming nights and make us the best version of ourselves. I mean, Ya Allah, I ask Allah to really take away the bad habits or the sins that we may be struggling with as we leave this Ramadan. Ameen. And I ask Allah with this dua that Allahumma innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni. Ameen. سبحانك الله وبحمدك، أو سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك، أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت، نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الصلاة خير من النوم الصلاة خير من النوم ألا صلوا في بيوتكم ألا صلوا في بيوتكم الله أكبر الله أكبر لا